425s, numbers are definitely out. Something's out here. 425s, needs 430s. Let's see if this holds. Nice push here. This thing looks good. Yeah, that's a nice push. It's breaking last week's high here. Needs to avoid a hard reversal. All right, that's some really good price action. This thing's going on 45-day highs. Looks like it wants some 440s. Off the bat, my initial reaction is this is the tougher trade to move higher. This is the tougher trade. Off the bat, said 430s was the key, broke above that, didn't look back, avoided a really hard push lower. Obviously need to wait to see more, to see if this is fully legit, but immediate reaction certainly looks positive. Getting some selling now. Needs to hold that 435 mark and avoid coming back into the 420s. See, after hours volume needs more above 435. Anything that leaves it vulnerable to coming back below 430 and that bearish trade is still alive here. You can see the struggle in these 430s. Don't like that action off of that high of 438. Needs a hard bounce off that 430 mark. I'm not ready to say that these 430s are legit. If it gets some 436s again, though, that'd be a very good sign. Staying a little close to 430, though, for my liking. And now back into the 420s. Has to break 420 in order to really be outright bearish. But, this is kind of what I said the bears needed. Now, you're asking me, what do I mean? I said the bears needed it, the stock's moving up after hours. Well, what I said is it needed to move above 430. If it was going to move above 430, it has to get sold into and come back below 430 and get a 420 test. You did get that move above 430, but you moved 10 bucks off of the high. So definitely some selling into that. Can it hold 430 stable? This could just be a case, unfortunately, of right back to where we started. as far as, you know, the last couple weeks, this thing hasn't been doing anything. It's just been a very tight, low volume trade. Unless we can get solidly above 435 and set up that move into the 440 to 450s, then we could still be looking at this recent 420 to 435 channel. The other side of that is it needs to get back below 420 in order for any downside momentum. Really want to see more than this, and kind of, this is kind of a low volatile reaction still so far. And thinking about tomorrow, if it stays up here above 430, then it's going to be a simple trade with that, you know, gap above 430, and does it hold that level? If it does, then that 440 to 450 range comes into play. Overall, this does seem like Apple can confirm this bottom. You know, the bigger picture is that, like I said, I'm getting tired of expecting 300s and waiting on them to come. So the bigger picture is that if we don't see a move lower tomorrow, I'm going to start forming some expectations centered around the idea that this thing's going back above 450, you know, by the end of the summer, and potentially rallying back above 500 in the last few months of the year. Going above the previous candle's high here after hours. If you crack 433, if you break 433, then it can get going and, you know, test that 435 level. Still hasn't gotten 433s again. All right, so it's a nice push there. Acting like it wants to maybe come up and test some 440s. This is why I don't take trades overnight. You know, you look at this thing going into the close. If you looked at that day, you'd say, man, that looks like a stock that's going to gap down. But earnings, you never know what something's going to do. Anybody who took puts getting burned. And really, if you took out of the money calls, you're probably going to wake up to losses also because it's not moving enough. If you get some 440s, though, that would take care of that. So got that 435 cross. See if this thing can muscle up, get some 440s. sometimes I like to close my eyes and just kind of see what I see when I'm not looking at anything, if that makes any type of sense. And to be honest, I could see this thing, given the way it's been channeling recently, I could see a scenario where now we channel, we have a new channel from 440 to 450 on the low, on the high end, and 420 to 430 on the low end. Okay, that's just kind of an initial gut reaction I have to these earnings. Wouldn't be surprised by a new channel where resistance is call it 445 to 450, and support is 420 to 425.